couple things we all kind of do because someone was like, hey, do this. So we're like, all right, cool, we're gonna do it, and it works. But the question is, why does it work? So what are some ways we control the back? Anybody?
Hips.
Hooks, what else? Seatbelt, what else? You get the G, you did the collar one, or you did the double collar grab. What else we got?
Just to the back.
Just to the back, just to the back. Okay, so when someone is on your back, or when you're on someone's back, you're trying to keep your chest on their back. That's the objective. But if I don't have any connection with my upper body, if we're just kind of sitting here like this, and he decides to move and I'm not holding him, well then I'm on his back, right? Sport Jiu-Jitsu says I need this to score points. But if I just have this and he wants to separate his back from me, like, not much happens. So the majority of the control comes from what's going on my upper body to his upper body, okay? To maintain chest control, I need to do a couple things. So let's go on to the seatbelt first. If we look at the seatbelt, we're crossing our hands. It's great for control. The problem is when I want to attack, especially if he's defending, just put your hands on my hands. When I want to attack, he preemptively is defending, okay? We get the collar version. This is great, except when I want to shoot rear naked chokes, I'm not defending this arm, so then he just kind of grabs, just grab. I'm here, so I'm saying, hey, I'm only gonna collar choke you or bow and arrow. All right, then we got the straight jacket, which is probably the best, some form like this. And we're gonna go over why it's the best. So in any submission, there's a control phase and there's a finishing phase. And the transition between the two is where the escape is. So we kind of talked about it. If I'm in the seatbelt and he starts to defend and I'm like, hey, I want to choke you. And just from this right here, which is defend, as I start to choke, he grabs my hand. This is where he's going to start his escape, whether it's pull it over, hip out, whatever else it is. Okay, so I want to minimize that transition and understanding pretty much any time that I try to get more leverage or more power to finish, I'm going to give up some control. So it has to happen for me to finish him, but I want to do it the most efficient way. When we're on the back, the most important hand, we're going to define two things today. So the hand that goes under the arm is going to be our control arm. I have two options with grips. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to do is get him from rotating against me. Okay? Sorry, this So the control arm is the one that goes under. If I'm going across his body, I'm going to grab his wrist. So when he starts to turn out, it makes it kind of hard to turn out because his elbow is kind of stopping him from turning. If I grab the same side, I'm going to hold his hand like this is my new boyfriend. Okay? The reason I go to his hand and I want to grip over his knuckles is because when his wrist bends, my wrist can bend with it. So on this side, if I try to grab him here and he just kind of wiggles his wrist out, it's really hard to follow. But on this side, when he wiggles his wrist and tries to do things, it's hard. So you'll see people grab like this. I'm like, oh, this is a really strong grip. This is awesome if I can get it here. But who's going to defend that way? Nobody. He's going to be here, he's going to push his hand out that way, just push it out. And I'm going to lose the grip. Okay? Even worse, I grab his wrist, he can go any direction. I'm not going to be able to hold it. But once I grab his hand, he tries to do it, his wrist is kind of funded against him. Okay? So cross grip on the wrist, same side grip on the knuckles, or your point hand. You can even interlace it if you really like. Okay? On the other side is going to be my killer, okay, my kill side. And this is the side that's going to go over his shoulder because I'm trying to strangle him with this. The key point here is I need to get my shoulder past his, or my elbow past his shoulder. This stops the rotation. So as I pinch back, it makes it hard for him to rotate out. Okay? So if you're playing a seatbelt and your elbow gets beyond his shoulder, just the other way, it's very easy for him to rotate. If we're playing a good seatbelt and we have that pressure, we're kind of pulling back, it happens because we're doing it correctly. But if someone hasn't explained the key point is my elbow in front of his shoulder, it was kind of bad. And then the last point is he's trying to grip me here. So you saw every time I said defend, what did he do? He kind of grabbed me right around my thumb and my wrist line. Okay, so the same thing I'm doing here where I'm controlling his wrist. If he can grab me here, now when I start to try to choke him, just kind of hold pressure, it makes it really hard. When my wrist bends, it tells my brain, hey, you shouldn't push any harder, you're about to hurt your wrist. If you were to grab me here, now I can put a lot of pressure, put a lot of pressure, now it becomes who's stronger, especially if I can reinforce here, it makes it good. But if he just grabs my wrist, I try and reinforce and my wrist is bent, I actually can't bring this much higher. I'm fighting myself. So I don't want him to grab my thumb. For control purposes, me sticking it under his armpit makes it really hard for him to get my thumb. I'm going to grab my thumb. Or I can stick it behind his head. Notice I'm not trying to strangle him. I'm just trying to hide my thumb. So I'm just putting my thumb behind his head. If I put it on his lat and you see this grip a lot, you can get, go ahead, grab it. On his lat, you can see he kind of grab it. It feels really tight here. The problem is he can grab my thumb and break the grip. When I stick it behind his head, go ahead, try and grab it now. Much more difficult. So we're gonna play this game with your opponent or with your partner. Get someone near your size. And with your control hand, either get the cross grip on the wrist, or same side, we're gonna grab the knuckles. And with this hand, either tuck it into their armpit with your shoulder, your elbow in front of their shoulder, or behind their head. I don't want you to put any hooks in. I just want you to control your partner. So this guy, anything you want to escape, go ahead and try and escape. Oh my God. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Something, anything, turn. If you notice, my chest stayed on his back the entire time. Now when we come back here, if I start to lose these elements, so just really simply, my elbow's not going to be in front of his shoulder. I'll still keep one of these grips, but watch when he starts to move. So go ahead and try and get out now. There's a separation from these. Okay? And then obviously if I lose the control hand, that's it. So with your partner, we're gonna rep this out. Work the controls, have them try and escape. With your feet, don't put the hooks in. You can use it to move yourself around. But get it so there's no chest to back separation. And you realize like 90 to 95% of my control just comes with the straight jab. 1, 2, 3. What escapes? Let's go this way. When we talk about escapes, my opponent's strategy is to separate my hands to some capacity and get over this leg. You're gonna get over this leg, just like you did. Okay? So, whatever side we fall to, I don't want this hook to be low because he's trying to go over it. So I want it to come across his body as much as possible. Because now he has to get his hips over my leg. So now when he tries to escape, he has to raise up really high. Even better, I can close that circuit. Okay? So, body triangle. If you like to play hooks, but with this foot, hook this foot high, hook this side in, okay? This is gonna make it really hard, or hook on his foot so that your foot stays high. You never want the bottom hook to be low because this is a very simple escape, okay? Today we're gonna talk about the body triangle because it's more dominant and it gives me the ability to start opening my arms. When I put the body triangle on, what I don't want to do is have this foot flexed here. Okay? If I flex this foot here, it gets really tight on my opponent. The problem is if he's good and he flips it over, I am now locked into this. He's going to start pushing here. If I have weak knees, maybe it pops. Maybe he can attack my ankles. So what I want to do is I want to make this as long as possible. I'm going to point my toes and I'm just going to flip over my toes. Okay? I still get the same amount of control because remember, it's about how high I get, not how hard I squeeze. I can squeeze as hard as I want. I'm not tapping him. I can squeeze this like a triangle. He's like, yeah, it's around my waist, around my head, nothing happens. So I don't need it to be tight, I need it to be high. That's what I'm focusing on. But if he rolls into the other side, because my toes are already pointed, I can pull it out even better. So he can go back to the other side. So we're gonna get cross grip on the arm, body triangle, hook it in, and we're gonna just play here, okay? And I want you with your opponent to be here and just be in the hand fight. So this guy, I just want you to hand fight or try to step over his leg. The key here is I still need to win these hand fights. At some point, I need to get control of my opponent because I want to start isolating arms. So, in priority, the control arm's the most important, the elbow's the second most important, and then hiding my thumbs the least. When we start to get into these hand fights, just go real slow. As we're here, he's gonna grab my thumb. Okay, if I want to give up something because he's winning this one, I'm not going to give up my control arm grip. I'm trying to get this back first, right? But I will give up elbow control. Say I need to push it over. Say I need to bring it back to get into the angle. Then I get my elbow back in front. Then I hide my thumb. We're focusing on that when we're playing this hand fight. Okay? If we go out of order, if I take my control hand out first, he's going to be able to separate. I fucked me up with that. So if he decides like, hey, I'm gonna use this hand and I'm gonna bring it out and go over, all I need to do is make separation. And once I have separation, now I'm in the game, I can start any escapes. Or even worse, like he was on this side, right? And now he takes this one out because he wants to use this to fight. I come here, and now I'm halfway out from the back, right? So with your partner, all we're gonna do is put the body triangle with your toes pointed, and we're gonna focus on that hand fight. But really focus on what order we're doing this, okay? The most important is that control arm, okay? I'm fighting for either one of those grips. If I lose that grip, that's the first thing I want back. Once I get that, now I put my elbow in front, then I hide my thumb. Person escaping, you gotta peel it off in reverse order, most likely, unless the attacker fucks up. So you should be going, grab the thumb, push their elbow out from under, and then get rid of the control arm, okay? If, as a defender, you're not doing that, the guy on your back sucks. Cool? Alright, let's try this out. 1, 2, 3. You kind of see it. You're fighting with your opponent. It's a 2-on-2 fight. I want to make this super unfair. I want to make it 2-on-1. Or even worse, I want to make this a 2-on-0. But 2-on-1 realistically is something I can't do. So I'm on my opponent's back, and we were just kind of talking about this. It's preference to which side you fall. I'm going to show both sides. Neither is better than the other. It just comes down to your efficiency and how you like to do it. So do it the way you want. I'm not gonna fix it the way. But I like to follow the control side. I like to follow the control side with the cross grip. Okay? What this does is it allows my hip to be free. So notice I can really kick my leg up and I can really move my leg. If he's kind of dead center and kind of sitting here, I don't have the same flexibility to really whip this around his body. When I'm on my opponent's back, what I want to do is I want to put his elbow in front of his body. Okay? This is going to keep his arm stuck. So you see people that will drag the arm behind the back. Okay? While it looks cool, it doesn't really help. So if his arm's in front of his body and I'm holding him here, it's really hard for him to get his arm out. It's stuck in his back. But behind his back, it's already there. All he's going to do is twist and pull his arm out. So with our legs, kind of show you, if I pull his arm behind his back, and I'm holding him even tight with the seatbelt, he's just going to turn his shoulder back, and his arm comes out. So I'm focused on bringing his elbow in front of his body. So with my control grip here, my hip is free, I'm going to push his hand down. If I start to push and pull like left and right, it really becomes the who's stronger. What I know, if I push his arm down, it brings his elbow close. So try not to let me do that. As I push his arm down, his elbow comes in front of his body. So push his arm down, my leg comes up, and this leg is not trying to grab and hook, it's trying to shoot across his body. So remember, at first this leg was shooting across his body, this one's gonna go across his body between his shoulder and his elbow. So I'm gonna cross over this way. Now I'm gonna hook my feet, I'm just gonna flex my feet to keep pressure across his body. And now when he tries to pull his arm out, very hard. Okay? I'm not squeezing into him, I'm not pushing down, I'm focusing on pulling across his body. Okay? Now if I can lock a body triangle, I'll take it. If I can't, I'm just keep my feet crossed. I'm gonna go 2-on-1 here, and from here I pretty much own the situation, but I wanna make it really, really terrible for him. So I'm here like this, I'm gonna stretch him back, I'm gonna post on my head, and I'm gonna roll him all the way to the other side. Okay? If I don't stretch back and I try to roll him, just resist this. If I try to just turn, it's a really weird motion, but I have a 2-on-1, so as I pull back, you notice it's really hard for him to fight that, and I put him onto this side. Notice now, to get his arm behind his back, he has to go through the ground. It is really hard for him to get out. Now here, I go ahead and lock his body triangle with my hand. I'll very close to squeeze across his body. Okay? From here, I should be able to do whatever I want, so I can choke him, I can do bow and arrows, I can just wet willy him, I can tickle him, I can do anything I want, just try and get out from him. Yeah, come on, right? And then if I still have the control grip, I can highlight him, right? So I can hold him right here, I can do the one-handed choke him. So again, cross grip, I follow the control arm side. I'm not pulling his arm across, I'm not pushing it out. I'm pushing it down so his elbow comes in front of his body. My hip is free so I can use it. I push over, I cross my feet, flex my feet, pushing across his body. I want to roll him to the other side. Right? To do this, I'm going to go 2-on-1, post my head, pull back, and roll. Once I'm here, lock my triangle. I'm sorry. You're good here. I have control. Terrible. Yeah. The back stretch of your buddy has a bad back. Or no, this thing stretches you out pretty good. We'll try this out for a little bit, get a couple reps in, and then we'll go to the other side. I focus my killer side, right? And I have the top grip and not the top grip. So we were having problems here, we were trying to implement the same strategy. So I was like, oh, just push the hand down. This one, I'm gonna push the hand across. And if I let his hand loose early, I'm not gonna be able to get my way across. So I still wanted to hit free and all those other things that were going on, right? I wanna actually lock this up with my hand in. Okay? If I do this early and I try to pull my hand out, he's gonna pull his hand out at the exact same time. So here, I got everything hooked up, we're good, I'm hiding. I push it across his body, I lock it across my feet. Now I pull my hand out, right? Now look, I have 2 overs. This isn't good. So I'm gonna go cross grip over him and reestablish this. Get this grip, now I can start attacking. I am gonna roll him to the side again. Right, so again. We ended up falling to my kill side and I had the top side grip. Okay? You can never trap the leg with the bottom side because the ground is in. And so my hip is out. I'm not gonna push his arm down, I'm gonna push it across. My leg comes up and chop, my hand's still in. I'm holding here. I cross my feet there. Now it's really tight, but I'm gonna have enough to pull my arm out, and he's not gonna have enough to pull his arm out. So I try to pull your arm out. My hand comes out, cross grip, pull it up, continue, and I'm gonna go through the same progression, head of the mat, roll over this. Okay, so if you were doing it the other way before, now we have control side here, drag it across. We talked about if you're on your butt, this motion is really hard. You should be on your head. You should be like, what's going on, right? This is the motion I want. So when I'm on my opponent's back, I'm doing this. And this motion should be possible for most people. But like this one, like shit, I can't do it. I'm pretty flexible. That's really hard. So get to your hip. Here, boom, keep your hand in, okay? Cross your feet, pinch it real tight. You're gonna cross your opponent's body. And with your hand, don't hold on to it and try to pull it out. Open your hand up. Like nice, like little, it's tight. You don't want it to be too loose so that he can pull his arm out. Once it's out, over cross grip, pull his arm up, get a control grip, and then continue the progression. It's out. 1, 2, 3. Or left hand. But we're gonna have to give up most of the time some control to get that finish out. That's what we're really focused on in this little mini. The control from the back starts with the control side arm. So when we get the control arm in, see the cross grip on the wrist, same side as that. That's the number 1 priority I have, right? We saw how the hooks didn't do much. Right? Then I want to get whatever my kill side is, I want to get my elbow over past their shoulder. Then I want to hide the thumbs to the hands. Once I get those things in, then I start worrying about the body triangle. The body triangle, point your foot, it just makes it easy for escape. When I start to isolate arms, remember I have to be on a hip. I can't be on my butt. So get to a hip. If your upper body control is good, the first thing we did in this class, right? Maintain upper body control. You saw it. I don't even need hooks. And that's why I was saying, like, you don't really need them to score your points if you're in a sport jiu-jitsu match. But you can completely abandon that and you have a really good chance that you can still attack. So don't get, like, I gotta have a hooks and I gotta have our hips to hip. You have upper body control, you're winning. Get your hip out, get the angle, isolate the arm. Right? You can fall either way, it's just a preference at this point. The biggest thing when we're trapping this arm, and the guys who like crucifixes are always going to try and pull it to the back, it's still an inferior position. And the reason crucifix doesn't score but the back does is because back is a better position for most people. So elbow needs to be in front of my opponent's body. I need to keep it there. If I put the elbow behind my opponent's body, I'm giving him the escape. Right? Once you get the arm isolated, move it to the side you want to attack on, which is usually the arm stuck against the ground so they can't pull it out. We use that little baby roll thing. I know some people were kind of struggling and they were doing this little wiggle thing, right? So they're over here and they're just like, that's giving up your control. You're wiggling and your opponent's wiggling. Well, guess what? That's where you're going to start to lose angles. The arm's going to come out. You're like, why didn't that work? Okay? I'm trying to engage my core, I'm trying to engage my spine. Think about when you squat, you're like, right? You don't squat like this. Right? You're like, I'm doing the same thing. My head kind of comes up. I'm going down on the ground. So, yeah, my legs are up here. I'm going to do a squat, but my head goes back. This allows me to turn, right? If I start, come on. See how my upper body's moving. I'm giving the wall taking space. I don't want that. I want them to stay. Don't need to use momentum for that. I'm actually using like 4 turns. Most stretch my lower. Once you get there, finish them the way you like, to bring your shoulder across your face. Start moving to them. Questions?